Dallas and Houston, and they really can't find what they're looking for. And the producer from the ad agency remembered you, 8 months pregnant, remember, from that commercial that you did, and they wanted to know if you would come in and audition. So sure enough, I did. Long story short, I ended up becoming their spokesperson, a six-figure television contract from the yogurt aisle to that, and hundreds of spokesperson and TV commercials since then. I mean, who would have thought? I went from yogurt to macaroni to a whole bunch of lettuce in my pocket because that was being open to the possibilities. And what a gift. And so I actually love doing TV work. I still do quite a bit. I think I have a condiment commercial still airing right now. So you may see me on that.
There's a theme going on here, ladies. There's a theme in what's occurring in your lives, because it goes on further from here. I mean, there's this newest work of art called Rockstar You, and I certainly want the two of you to speak on that, and I want you to tell us a little bit about 2020 Vision, your book, Andrea and Aly, your new book, The 29th Hour. But before we get into that, there's a theme here, and there's something that equates to all of this happening in your life. And so if you were each to take a moment and just reflect on that question, what is the recipe for this? There's a consistent upward movement, and what's the recipe? What is it that's caused it for each of you in your own words? And we'll start up with Andrea.
Well, I think probably a good example that I can give you is how I dealt with the process when I was diagnosed with cancer. I know that you never can imagine that that's what you'll face. And for my particular circumstance, I was pregnant with my first child. I had no particular knowledge of what pregnancy was supposed to feel like, and there were a few weeks in there. I had been initially quite ill and had a lot of complications. And there were a few weeks in there where I started having some pain, and I pushed that to the back of my mind and said, I'm an athlete, and an athlete is really tough. They're going to be really tough and not complain, and they're going to tape it up and move on, And that's the mentality that I took at first. But at some point, I finally broke and said to my doctor, I don't think this is right, and I learned to trust my instincts. And I think when you're trying to figure something out in life and you have something that's an adverse circumstance in your life, the first critical element is to hear your own voice and to hear that instinct. I know I didn't want to complain, but I knew something wasn't right. And we started looking and doing a lot of testing and figuring out, and I went into preterm labor, and this is 2016.
Oh, you were pregnant at the time your cancer was diagnosed.
I was pregnant at the time, but I didn't know what was causing the problem. But I knew there was a problem. I knew my instincts indicated to me there was a problem. Now, did I think I had cancer? Absolutely not. I was a healthy 26-year-old female at that time with no history or any other health issues indicative that I would be a cancer candidate. At that time, I just trusted my instincts that I need to keep pursuing this. Pain, a physical pain in my body that also created that instinct. And there was a team of about 12 doctors or so that had me to study. And all of them, bar one, thought I was a pregnant lady that couldn't handle it and that just complained, because no one could figure out the answer. And the whole time we were facing this circumstance of knowing I have preterm labor and I have this pain in my body, and I would take pain medicine, which I was deathly afraid of because I knew that medicine went to the baby. But if I allowed my body to get in a pain cycle, then I was back in labor, and then we were going to have a premature baby that wasn't viable. So we had all kinds of balancing acts to do. And in the time, my instinct was keep looking, keep looking, keep looking, keep looking. Something's not right. And, of course, I was very blessed. We actually kept her full term, and she was born healthy. And we went to about 5 weeks postpartum and the doctor called and said, with his instinct, said, you need to have a renal sonogram to just check things out because I don't like how it looks during your pregnancy. He went in, we found a kidney stone in my right kidney and a lemon-sized tumor in my left kidney. That's a problem.
That's a big
problem. That's a big problem. And I know my husband started a brand new job the day that I got a phone call. I sat cross-legged on the floor and had a phone call from this doctor who said, we have found the stones in the right kidney and we have found this tumor in your left kidney. And I asked him, do you think that this is a cancer? And he said, well, we can't tell on the film that we're looking at, but we hope not. And that is what I sat with for 3 weeks because there was a time frame where we had to wait for my body to recover to a certain extent from the process of the delivery. And you can't biopsy this type of situation because if it is a cancer, it will spread on the needle path.
Yeah.
So the second thing that I did, first I trusted my instinct. The second thing that I did to cope with this particular situation was I trusted in the best outcome possible. I said to the physician, I went for the surgical consult, and I said, I know this is not going to be a good situation. The surgery is going to hurt. I'm now talking about more pain medication, which I was dreading because it made me sick. And I said to the doctor, listen, until you can get into surgery 3 weeks from now, until you can prove to me that this is a cancer, and I knew at the time that 85% of them would be cancer. I knew the odds, and I still said, until you can prove to me that this is a cancer, then I'm going to tell you it's not. And that is the second step. I just trusted that I was going to have the right outcome. Fast forward to the day of surgery, and we went in expecting that when I wake up that I will know, yes, you have cancer, or no, you don't. And that's what I was going to wake up to. And I don't remember this particular situation, but my family has relayed it to me. Apparently, when I was in recovery, the first instance of my opening eyes in my drug-induced state, I was told that actually, yes, you have renal cell carcinoma. This is a cancer. And Aly says that that's kind of when she would have the pity party and, isn't this enough? And I've already got the blind thing going. Now I have the cancer thing going. And, what's the problem here? And I think my heart spoke at that moment because I certainly know that I wasn't capable of making a logical thought process at that time. And my heart said, you know what? And this is what my mouth said. It said, the doctors actually saved my life today. And that was my perspective because it doesn't matter the problem that you're facing, the acknowledgement of the blessing that I had a horribly painful process through the last, the previous 9 or 10 months. I had every expectations of wonderful, blissful pregnancy completely shattered, but had that baby not been there at that time, had I not had the warning signals, had I not had a baby pushing on a tumor to create those signals, I'm not a 27-year-old person that would go and have a renal sonogram and check that out. I would have not known, and I would have been dead. I would have been dead. I would give me a year or two, and I would have been dead from that particular aggressive cancer. So I knew that because they found it and could deal with it, that was going to be the key to saving my life. So I saw the third step, I guess, is where I'm getting. I saw the blessing in the adversity that I did have, and I was able to keep the right perspective. And I tell this story often that somebody saw the scar on my abdomen, and the way they had to do this one, sometimes it's a bigger scar than normal because of my circumstances in both kidneys, but it's like a huge rainbow that covers my entire abdomen. So this was a very, very large and painful incision. And somebody said to me, oh, it's really sad because you have a sad face on your stomach. And for me, it's about perspective. So I looked down at my stomach and went, well, you're looking at it wrong. It's a happy face to me. it is that perspective,
I think that totally